Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel where I hope I can help you with your photorealistic texturing project. So today's video is about how to create realistic fantasy asset using real-life reference. Copying something exactly like the photo is a great practice to train your eye, and we do that in film production all the time. But to take it to the next level is to make something that doesn't exist in real life. And I want to show you how to do that in this tutorial. Again, my model is not super elaborate, so I can get this tutorial out in time, but the tips I'm showing you can be applied to anything you work on. I originally modeled this cat pendant for 3D printing. Here's the finished print. It was way too heavy for anyone to wear, so it was a fail. Anyways, I will put this weather bronze texture onto this cat and give it more of a bronze statue look. It can be a little overwhelming staring at a grayscale model and try to imagine all the awesome materials and details you can put on it. Here, I will give you some general steps to break down your problem-solving process. First, you need to decide what materials that can look realistic on this model. You can make extremely realistic textures, but if it doesn't make sense in a context for this asset, it will never look real. So choose a material that can actually be used for this object in real life. Next step is to gather reference and recognize interesting characteristics in this material that you would like to have on your model. Once you start gathering reference, you will start to see a lot of cool details that you want to put in your asset. Categorize them and highlight them. Great preparation is the key to create something that doesn't exist. The next one is to do quick concept on the model to visualize it. I would highly recommend doing this a few times and choose the best one. Sometimes great texturing is about getting familiar with the characteristics of this particular material. Once you've made those decisions, the rest of the process is exactly like my full texturing process video. If you haven't seen that one yet, I will link it down below. So here's how I applied those steps on this asset. The cat is supposed to be pretty small, but I'm just gonna imagine it's the same size as a statue. After I gather my reference, I'm starting to circling out all the interesting stuff I want to put on my cat. I think the drips looks very interesting, and I also like how one of his eye is completely covered by patina. From this reference, I also realized that most of the patina are actually in the cavity and ambient occlusion area. I also really love the color variation I can see on this reference. After I decided I want all those things in my model, I will start concepting out ideas. I decide to just have a very basic bronze material on the bottom and the basic patina material on the top so I can start painting. Once I set up a mask layer between them, I will start my sketch. I'm just using a soft brush here. Nothing has to be very precise. We're just sketching out the idea and we can change it anytime we want. I do want to mention a couple things to avoid here. For the layout of the material to look interesting, you want to avoid symmetry. Remember, things in real life are very irregular. We want to mimic that in our concept. The next tip is to avoid forming a smooth, simple shape. If any area of the material layout start to form a perfect circle, perfect triangle, or any sort of simple geometric shape, you want to break it up. Here, I'm just observing the reference and try to mimic the characteristics of the material layout as much as possible. So after a little bit of a work, this is what I have. I think this is an okay first pass to move on to the next step. Another thing I realized from the reference is that the material layout is actually very based on the shape of the asset itself, which means we can get a lot of help from substance for this one. I will use the same technique I demonstrate in my Substance Tomorrow video. Gonna make some really cool looking material masks out of substance and make this process much faster. First, I will bake all the utility maps, then I will show you all the maps I will export from Substance. I'm just using some basic smart mask here in Substance. I would tweak them if I have to, but a lot of times they can look pretty cool already. I realized on the reference, a lot of curvature areas are actually very clean, so it's going to be a useful one. What I will do with the rough sketch I did, I will move it into a red layer and start to use it as a guide. I will start import those masks into Mari. At this point, I actually don't know how I'm going to use every one of the masks, and I might not use all of them, but it's definitely handy to have them around. After some experimenting, I think I combined the two of the masks. Now I'm at a point that I think this is a decent start for the actual texture. I'm turning on the guide so I can start painting. I collected some stencils that has similar characteristics as the material. I will start to block out the mask according to my concept. Everything is super rough at this point. We will have to come back and clean it up a lot more. It is a little tricky to have surface masks that you baked out, and also you have your own concept, and you're gonna have to figure out how to combine them somehow. But if we follow this one step at a time, and I think we're gonna be okay. After some cleanup, I think now my mask is reflecting my concept. I started to collect more texture that's going to be useful to clean up the mask better. I realized that a lot of dirty concrete stuff is actually going to work for this one. I want to quickly show you the difference between the substance map and my current map. I think now combining the curvature map is going to add some great detail to this model. So I multiplied my curvature map on top of the thin mask and review it with a mask. In Mari, you can have a mask for everything. The workflow can be completely non-destructive if you want it to be. With the new node system, it's even easier now. I kept adding more detail to my mask until I'm happy with it. This is what it looks like now. Like I mentioned before, I really like the color variation I see in this model. I'm gonna start to add the yellow into the paint, and I see a lot of the yellow is also in the cavity area. The yellow actually covers a lot of real estate, so I decide to bake another substance mask. What I would do now is to set up the yellow patina material on top of the green and import the substance mask. But I won't use the entire mask because it's too all over the place. I want to have better control than that. I will add another mask for the mask. I hope this doesn't confuse everybody. I'm just using a powder brush now to review the mask at the area that I would like to have some yellow color breakup. After a little bit of work, and this is what it looks like in the end. I actually realized that the original patina tile bowl is a little too simple. So I swap it out with something that's a lot more interesting and add a lot of color to the object. That's the beauty of a non-destructive workflow. You can swap things out anytime and you don't waste any work. So here is the final render. This is actually rendered in Blender by Adrien Lambert. He is using this asset to make a Blender tutorial. In his tutorial, he will explain how to light, grade materials, and the purpose of UDIM all in Blender. It's coming very soon on his channel, and I will link it down below. I hope this is helpful. This is just one example of a fairly simple material. In the future, I want to tackle more examples like this and give you more useful tips. If you're interested, please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any future video. Before I go though, I do want to mention again my new Facebook group. If you're currently working on your demo reel, it's a great place where the group members and I can help you every step of the way. I will give you detailed explanation and critique of your work and make sure that you are on the right track towards your goals. I also post useful quick tips for my group members only. That is everything for today, and I will see you in the next one.